Hello folks, Bober.com here, and me, Arnepers, as always, bring you some constructed playtesting action. Here, I would like to finish up on the matchup between Grixis Delver and Abzan Company. Company on the right and Delva on the left side of the screen. These are post-sideboard games, so we already boarded, and you can see our sideboarding plan in the previous video. As it turned out, in the games before sideboard, the matchup felt rather equal, and even without any actual collected companies cast, Delver had quite a lot of problems. Okay, the company deck started with Razorverge Thicket on turn 1, but no overplay, or he was considering something. Okay, he just passed the turn, and I started with a Pain to Life for Detection Probe, looking at his hand, so I see Temple Garden, Spellskite, Witness, 2 Chord, and Fetchland. I think it's Verdant Catacomb. So bear in mind that all commenting and narrating is done after the matches are recorded. So just a tap Steam Vents for me, because I had no other turn 1 play. So my hand was rather slow. So he cracked the Catacombs, but I was anticipating him playing Spellskite here, which is a big problem for me, unless the company deck is at really low life, so that the 2 damage or 2 life lost from activating the Spellskite is a big issue for the company deck, but normally it isn't. So turn 2 Spellskite is not really a bad thing to have on the play, while I had not much going on turn 1. If I would have had like a Delver in turn 1, I would be much more confident about this game. So nothing on turn 2 for me, so just a polluted Delta and pass. And while I'm narrating or commentating on the matches, even though I would see them live or participate in them, but I unfortunately don't have time to watch the whole tape once again and then commentate, so I might miss a couple of things, but hopefully not. I'm gonna say that I might misinterpret something, but all the evidence is on the video, so it's alright with you, I suppose. So cracking a Windswept Heath on turn 3, so getting the plains, and I saw Eternal Witness from his hands, and at that point I kind of forgot that he had already a Temple Guard in hand, and then he cast Kitchen Finks, which is another trouble for me if I let it resolve. So that was a moment when I forgot that he had another green source, and I knew he had a double chord in hand, so I was really surprised that he fetched the plains here. But because he knew I boarded in Blood Moon, so he was trying to hedge against that, basically. Though it's still weird, because he had a Temple Garden in hand. So I think I would much rather fetch a forest here because he already had access to double white, and if I would land a blood moon there on the next turn, then he would be cut off green, which is more important because then you can't cast like pretty much anything outside of maybe Cartel Aristocrat or another Spellskite, but that's poopy. So I'll let things resolve, unfortunately, and then on my turn cast the Serum Visions, trying to think what to do with that scry. I kept both on top. Got Soulful Force out. Then tried to dig deeper with the Scour. And I kept 2 doozies on top because I knew I would Scour. After that. If it would be like a preordained scry and then draw, then of course it's a different story. But because I draw and then scry, then it was okay to keep 2 turds on top because I would mill them anyway. But he had a Spellskite and a Sphinx already in play. But Visions into Foscar allowed me to have a bunch of food for the Murderous Cut, and I wanted to kill the Spellskite here, because if I let him untap, well, he wouldn't have a triple green on the upkeep to cast a chord. What could he have? Well, nothing really. So maybe, yeah, well, it wouldn't matter, I think, to cast it at his upkeep or on my turn, so, and I would want to do this anyway, pretty much, because I'm not even sure, I don't think I even had any other play available that turn, but yeah, things without a minus counter in play is not where you want to be, unless you actually have a Testiger or Angler in play. Just stamp the bleeding and buy yourself some time. I knew about the Witness, and for some reason he decided to get back Spellskite, which is alright, but with 2 chords already in hand, I think returning back Fetchland was a better idea. Because he shocks himself to cast have an untapped Temple Garden. So he bashed with things. I'm already down to 14. Really a awkward spot because he has some pressure on board and I have to deal with the chords. So yeah, my draws were not particularly terrible. I had some things going on, but yeah, felt like a typical problem of a Delver deck. If you don't have a Delver on turn 1 or like a Jan Pyromancer on turn 2 on an empty board, then you're so far behind. I don't know. So if you look at the way the games play out, you might prefer to play blue-white-red tempo or blue-white-red mid-range or Jeskai, whatever you want to call it, because that deck is way less it is hurt way less in this kind of middle game attrition war. And with Grixis, they'll pretty much have to be a tempo deck all the time. So I had the lucky Spellsniff for the Spellskite which came down. and during attacks I bolted the things. Okay, he gained 2 life back, but I had his Staticaster in hand to finish it off, but then he played Core Firewalker, which is a weird card to have in this matchup, and the weird card maybe to some people to have in your sideboard at all, but I do like it, and I do like bringing both of them in for this matchup because Grixis Delver has Pyromancer with tokens, and then all the burn spells and removals. It's okay, you can kill it with Murderous Cut, but if you have like a split between Terminate and Cuts, then it's becomes even better. So I had just land number 5 and Gourmet Angler exiling my sideboard. Well, my graveyard, I mean. And I was ready to respond with a Staticaster, finish off Witness or Things. And Angler can freely block whatever he had in play. So I would kinda hate to have here Pyromancer, but Angler was really good. Bashing in with Angler because I felt like I had enough of ways to react to what he was doing, and I really needed to try to close out the game somehow before he gets bananas. I think I had a flash freeze for his cord, and 3 mana still left to cast Staticaster. So the cord was at the end of my turn to try to make me tap out and things like that. And then he weirdly goes for core, tapping all his guys this way. So that basically means that he wants to cast some more spells this turn. Though I'm not sure, there's a chance that I would rather want to go on the offensive here, and he would still have 5 mana, so he would have still a spells cut up, because when I would he would go to attacks, I would go with a Staticaster and try to kill one of his guys. He wouldn't respond with a cord and fetch another spells cut and redirect, and things would be still good. This way, okay, I finished off his things. He fetched for an offensive for some reason. I don't know exactly why he wanted. He had another kitchen things. That was the thing. I'm still not sure whether that was the right sequence. So he's trying to go for the combo as fast as possible, which is not the worst approach actually. I don't hate that plan. Though the more safe route would probably attack and then go for cord for spells kites. As you can see here, I just got rid of the Anafanza with Electrolyze, and then after that bolted the kitchen things. Get backs with a counter, and then I finish it off with a Staticaster. I'm on 12, but he only has 4 power on board. Even if he draws Gaoni Township, that's just 6. So that's not big, but he gained a couple extra life with core, and my end of the turn was just casting a Delver. So I really needed to somehow raise here with the Angler and hopefully a flip Delver. I think I was pretty much hellbent here, which wasn't really great because he still had some gas in hand, unlike me. But my board was looking pretty good, while his wasn't all that insane. Cartel Aristocrat, not the worst here. I know some people really have some good experience with the Blood from the Empire, but Cartel is still good. And here actually Bloodthrone wouldn't be that amazing, especially with me having a Staticaster on board. It would really be quite clunky. So that's one of the situations where you can see that Cartel is pretty much better, because if it would be Bloodthrone, it would put me into my friend into a really awkward spot. So started by just going to combat and attacking with the Angler. He took it, he's down to 12, that feels really good. Then I played a second Delver, and the first one didn't flip because I just drew that second Delver. I think I still had some cards in hand. Oh yeah, but those were, I think, just a bunch of lands, like 2 or 3 lands in hand. So I was pretty much hellbent, and I really wanted those Delvers to flip next turn, so that I could just maybe stay on D for a while, so that he can't really race me, and just try to finish him off with 2 flip Delvers or something like that. So that was the plan. And stay with me here, this game would get even more absurd very soon. It was really tricky and very crazy game, and I think that was the turn where it started to get really awkward, and we had to wait for a really long time and make a lot of decisions and try to calculate the odds of what could happen up next on either of the side of the table, and how each of us could technically win. So he fought for a while and then just tapped all his whole team and went onto offensive here with a bunch of 2-2s and 2-1. I didn't want to block with Delvers because that was my route to victory in this game. This was rather weird why I played it like that. I could have blocked and tried to kill off the Witness. That's just weird. I took 2 more damage here for no reason, really. That's odd. And I didn't even shoot anything. Did I? No. That's just... okay. I'm sorry, that was just dumb, but, well, people do make mistakes sometimes. Luckily I did that kind of mistake with this deck during playtesting. So my Delvers get flipped, but what I revealed to them was Anger of the Gods out of the sideboard, which put me into a ridiculously complicated spot, I think. I probably want to attack with both Delvers, but then there's a chance that that puts me dead for next turn, even with 2 blockers and a way to kill a dude. No, like, it's alright, like, I'm sorry, that wasn't really a punt with the Staticaster here, because Witness had a counter, so it was free too. So I'm sorry, that's just misinterpretation on misinterpretation. So I really fought for a while here. What are the odds? I realized that he wouldn't. I really had to attack with at least one Delver here. The problem is, after the anger, he would still have Aristocrat and Firewalker in place. So I would just kill two of his guys and basically three of my own guys. So it really felt terrible to cast it, but I was at 5. Yeah, and I thought I would have much better chance of winning that game if he would have just done nothing next turn. Because if I would cast Anger here, there would probably be almost no way for me to win from this spot. So it made a lot of sense to pause on Anger here, at least for a turn, and to try to bait him into playing another creature here. So, because the next turn I wasn't still dead, I think, because I would have 2 blockers, and I would, in worst case, go down to 1, and that was alright. Of course, this puts me dead to Township, or what else? Basically Court or Company into Kitchen things. But I think if I would cast Anger here, like, there would be pretty much no way for me to win this game. And it was really unfortunate that he had an Abrupt Decay to kill one of the Delvers here. Also, casting Anger would make him gain 1 life from Firewalker, which would really mess up my clock here. So there you have it. That were the considerations here. He drew. Really hoped it would be like a blank. A random creature wouldn't be too bad here. Anything that wouldn't basically kill me right on the spot. I didn't really care because I had this kind of reset button with Anger. And that was obviously great. And yeah, I really do think that pretty much anything can float your boat for the sideboard of Delver for this matchup. It doesn't have to be 1 or more Anger of the Gods in the sideboard. It could be Engineered Explosives, which would be just bonkers here, just playing bananas. Just using it for 2 and wiping 3 of his guys no matter what, even through the protection from color. But Anger lets him keep 2 guys, which I would remove with explosives. But also bear in mind that it's a deck with Snapcasters and Pyromancers and stuff like that, and it wants to operate at instant speed. So I do like another alternative, having a couple of Magma Sprays in the sideboard. That also works quite fine in this matchup and against Elves as well. Though for a wider meta game, I would probably prefer explosives, I think. They're also good at getting rid of opponents' bunch of tokens and stuff like that, and For example, against elves, you get to most times keep your board and wipe their board full of 1-drops. So that's a really nice interaction. So I think in general I would prefer explosives, but I could see arguments in certain cases for having Anger of the Gods in the sideboard or having Magma's Praise. And well, he didn't have the combo, he just had another Anafanza here, which wasn't really doing anything for him. And he decided not to attack with everything here, while I think he should have. Simply because I would just eat one of his creatures and I would be going down to 1. And then he would just chump block with the. I know he wouldn't be able to, because I would just anger. But then because he was at 6, no, I wouldn't be able to kill him even for anger, because Delver would die from the anger, and then I can get through only with Gurmak Angler. So of course, after attacking with the fly, I cast the anger here. He had to sacrifice a creature to keep his aristocrat on board. And of course I just put a bunch of money into mana pool and sequence Anger and then Blood Moon. And because he didn't have a basic forest, which I mentioned, I think, at the beginning of the video, he couldn't really do anything or cast anything. And okay, he wasn't right yet that here. He was trying to fetch, but I quickly spotted and said like, hey, like there's Blood Moon in play, so no fetches. Sorry, so you don't have any green mana unless you actually draw that basic. So this pretty much how it ended. I didn't really draw much, but he couldn't really cast anything, and then he was, he was forced to chump block, and then just couldn't cast any new spells. And I think I drew some action, and I had, even though a bunch of red mana, but I did have a basic island and a swamp, so I was able to cast my spells. Yeah. And because he really had to block, basically chump with one of his creatures, so I attacked. While I was at 5, but he was at 3. So him not attacking that last turn was actually pretty bad mistake. He had to attack with everybody, putting me at 1, because he probably wouldn't die on the backswing, even though that was a really risky thing to do, but that would maximize his chances of winning that game. Of course, he couldn't foresee Blood Moon coming down and stuff like that, but anyway, well, guys, I hope you really enjoyed this, so don't forget to subscribe, leave any questions for me in the comments, I'll gladly answer them. We are on Twitter, Facebook, and everywhere. Check out the website. So until next sale, goodbye, folks.